All right, guys, welcome back to Strong Successful Male. So for today, I'm going to be going over an article called Do Women Really Need Gentlemen? Now, I thought this was a pretty entertaining article to read because this article is going to come from the perspective of two completely different women, total opposites on their views about gentlemen and how men should treat them and everything like that. Now, the first one I'm going to read is from a woman I'm going to refer to as the Queen. And this woman, you can see from the first couple sentences, she expects exactly that. She expects to literally be treated like royalty. And as I go from hearing her stories and perspective, about the only thing she doesn't want from a guy is to have them throw rose petals in front of her when she walks and roll out the red carpet. I mean, it's no joke. And on the other woman, who I'm going to refer to as the feminist, you're going to see her perspective. She's the exact polar opposite of the Queen, where she wants everything to be equal with the guy. And she's the type, and will openly admit this, gets mad if a guy would offer his seat to her on the train or the bus or something like that. I mean, it's crazy. And this is giving you an idea of what we're dealing with out in the world right now, where things have gone so far that you get this. Okay? So, sit back and enjoy this because it's definitely entertaining. So, article starts off with, and this is perspective from the woman, her name is Eileen, but I'm going to call her the Queen. It says here, ladies, make no mistake, it's not a matter of needing gentlemen. It's far more a matter of having enough self-respect to know we deserve them. Ooh, right there, we deserve them. Why? Do you have a magic pussy? Why do you deserve to be treated with? Why do you deserve this? But okay. Yes, I expect doors to be held open for me. Yes, I expect the man to at least offer to pay for dinner. Yes, I expect to be offered a seat if I'm standing on a crowded bus or train. And yes, I expect my bags to be carried if they're heavy. And I make absolutely no apology for it. Man, she sounds like a handful. Can you imagine being out with her? Why? Because I was brought up being told I was worth it. Anything less than this is boorish behavior. I don't care if she looks like a Victoria's Secret model at 10, amazing body, does every freaky thing a guy wants to in bed. No one deserves this, and no one should have this attitude. My God. She goes on to say, and you can see where this all comes from, my father is a gentleman. It is imprinted in him like writing on a stick of rock. I grew up watching him carry bags, offer lifts at any time of the day or night, open doors, give up his seat, and lift heavy objects. I saw him wait at the foot of the stairs, gazing in awe as my mum descended in a haze of perfume in her beautiful dresses when they were going out to a dinner dance. And I bet you her dad was probably jerked around and bossed around by the mother. And you can see where her attitude comes from. I equally saw him gaze in awe at her skills with finance and her decision to return to work outside the home when all three of us children were going through college. Even as a child, I knew without a shadow of a doubt they were equals, and therefore I naturally expected similar treatment for myself. You can make this into a drinking game where every time you hear I read expect, you do a shot. At the end of this article, you guys would be toast. My mom is a very strong woman. The word Spitfire has been used. She passes it on to my sister and myself. Really? It's just one of the things my dad adores about her. We have a brother, and yes, he is a gentleman too. I bet her brother is a total butt-kissing beta male. That's probably what he is. When I spoke to my dad about writing this article, he looked bemused and shook his head. And her dad is quoted as saying, being a gentleman isn't about being patronizing. It's simply about respect and acknowledging that women deserve to be respected. Well, we all know what happens when you do that. I remember when I was 17 and eating my heart out over some boy at school. It was my dad who sat me down for a chat. My mom had already tried telling me, but Telling me you're a feminist until it comes to Mr. X hadn't so much ruffled my feathers as ignited them, and my claws were refusing to retract. To this day, I remember that conversation as a scene from The Wizard of Oz where the good witch tells Glinda tells Dorothy that she has the power all along to get herself home, and the camera pans down from her stunned and confused face to the sparkly red shoes on her feet. My dad talked to me candidly about his teenage years and early 20s when he was going to dances and chasing girls. Then he spoke the line that has stayed with me ever since. And her dad's being quoted as saying, "Men can think what they like, and generally they will, but it is the woman who holds the whip hand." Papa's a beta male. He's probably a good guy, but he is a butt-kissing beta male. Let's be honest here. And described here that his wife, her mother and their father's wife is a spitfire. Darn right she could be that way, because that guy probably ever laid down the law. I bet you anything she wanted, he gave her. I bet you any time that she got bitchy and rude, he just took it like a whipped puppy. And that's what this woman was raised to be, and I guarantee all the guys that put up with her crap are the same way. But the idea of this channel and other ones like mine is to teach you guys to not put up with this crap, to not do all this ridiculous nonsense. Kick them to the curb. And when they're alone crying because they don't have anybody that wants them or wants to start a family with them, then they'll learn. My mom told me that men could be terribly stupid when it came to women, but hearing my dad reveal that men were essentially powerless made me sit up and take note. This was the inside track. I bet she took notes on this. We got the power, guys, because at the end of the day, ultimately, biological clocks will come in, and they're going to want to settle and get married. And we could. The old joke is women hold the keys to sex, we hold the keys to relationships. From the time I was old enough to hold my own in an argument, I've sat down with my dad and had discussions on everything from politics and news and books and film to sex and religion, and we have always argued our sides whilst simultaneously learning something new from each other. I was never patronized or told about glass ceilings. Acknowledging the relevance of the gentleman in the 21st century is acknowledging every woman's right to be respected, which in turn brings out the best in every man. How can that ever be considered obsolete? It is as relevant now as it always should have been. Well, we all know darn well that when you behave in a way that this woman says that she expects to be treated, what kind of treatment do men get? Are they adored by women? Are they treated with great respect? Are they wanted by women? No. They're jerked around, given a hard time, and just mistreated. And we all know this. On the other hand, if you do the exact opposite, those are the guys that get the women. Those are the guys that hook up with all the chicks. And women complain that, chivalry is dead, there's no more gentlemen. Well, there's no more gentlemen because there's no more ladies. Chivalry is dead because we know who killed it. We know what movement killed it. A lot of guys out there instinctively, at least early on, want to treat women well for a woman they really like. And they learn the hard way what happens when you do that. So you can't blame us and give us a hard time for simply looking at reality and behaving accordingly. All right, guys, so that's the Queen's perspective on a gentleman. Now I'm going to bring us to the feminist. Her name is Suzanne, and this is the polar opposite. So according to Suzanne, it says men and women need each other apart from just physically. And she says in parentheses, this is by no means meant to negate same-sex relationships. You can already tell she's a feminist because she has got to point that out there. We complement each other in so many ways as friends, colleagues, lovers, partners, and yes, adversaries too. Our femininity, she's quoted as saying this, our femininity is a complex power that should be not traded in for fear that is misconstrued as a weakness. She goes on, we're capable of doing anything we set our minds to. Plus, we're built to give birth, and that's the equivalent of breaking 20 bones at the one time. Of course, we're not physically inferior! Exclamation point. I certainly do not need a man to assume I will pay for dinner or have a door closed in my face to make me feel equal. I know I am any man's equal. Therefore, I see these courtesies for what they are. I see them as respect. I knew a girl like that. Well, I've known a lot of women like this, but I've read this article before I'm doing this video, and this reminds me of a girl I used to know. Oh, she and I would butt heads. I couldn't stand her. She moved the hell away. I took martial arts with her because a lot of the women that train in martial arts tend to be on the more masculine side, and she was friends with other friends of mine and so forth. And so on occasion, if we were a bunch of us going out to bars, she'd be there, and she and I butt heads from the beginning. I didn't back down, and she didn't back down. It's kind of what led me on this path, to be honest with you. She goes on to say, if a man offered me a seat on the bus or the train, it would make me wonder just exactly how old and fat I was looking. It would totally freak me out. No joke. Someone see you have a full bus or train, and you got a guy there who's nice, and he sees a woman standing, and he offers a seat as a kind thing to do, and you see the reaction. This is what's going on in her crazy head. This woman's a lunatic. A really good friend of mine. Great guy. He is, I jokingly always refer to as the last gentleman because he does a lot of these gentlemanly things. But what's cool about him is he does it in a way that he's not perceived as a doormat. And he's married and has kids. And he's one of the few people that I think honestly has pretty good, happy marriage. They seem to have fun together and all that, And he does these things. And I can imagine him doing this and a woman throwing a hissy fit over it because he was trying to do a nice thing. It's crazy. She says here, I'm too old to be pregnant, too old to be young. Why would I need a seat? God. Psh. Look at what I'm wearing. Lycra and trainers. I've just come from the hot yoga or dog walking. I don't need a seat. Thanks, though. Maybe offer it to an elderly man or a woman or a parent with small children. I'm fine. I don't want a gentleman. I want a human. A lovely human with good manners, but not the kind of manners that modify themselves according to the genitalia of the recipient. No. Can you imagine being out with this woman? Who the hell would date this woman? I mean, she's masculine as hell and just a pain in the ass. Whew. It goes on to saying, hold the door for me, and I will hold the door for you. It depends on who is going through the door first. Ordinary politeness going both ways. See all this equal stuff? Equal. You don't need to carry my bag. I possess my very own excellent shoulders. Although I would take your coat if I were cold. Equally, if you were cold, I'd offer you mine. Or my scarf if my coat didn't fit. Kindness is all flowing in both directions. Good manners is noticing other people's needs and comfort, and being attentive to them, gender irrelevant. I mistrust a man with shiny manners who thinks he's making you feel like he's treating you well by leaping to open doors. Ostentatiously pulling out chairs, insisting on paying for stuff. In my experience, such actions are best resets, at worst controlling. Put your money away, little lady, like a black and white film from an era where men owned everything and women were obliged to be grateful while pretending to be a little bit frail and useless. No, for me, the modern gentleman is a man who shows good manners to all, from the waitress who took his dinner order to the homeless guy outside the restaurant. He knows how you are before talking about himself. He doesn't bang on endlessly about his stuff every time you meet. He realizes you are not an audience. All these terms and conditions here. He uses actual words and sentences while WhatsApping you and doesn't keep you waiting too long for a response. Nor does he upload photos of you all over his social media without checking with you first that you are okay to be tagged. No man is going to upload pictures of this chick up on social media because no man would want to admit that he's out with this chick or has anything to do with this chick. Chick. I hope she's watching this because that's what I'm calling her. Chick. That would make her crazy. There's other words I can choose to use, but I don't want the YouTube police to come on here and shut down this video or shut down my channel. So you guys know what I'm thinking. Starts with a B or a C, some of those words. He notices your new hair, shoes, piercing, and is generous with compliments as you are with him. Cooks you dinner without going all Gordon Ramsay about it. Stands behind you at gigs. So you don't get elbowed in the kidneys. Basic stuff. Kindness, consideration, thoughtfulness. More of a turn on the than a million doors open. Door opening is fine, but ultimately not terribly meaningful. The thing about traditional gentleman manners is that they serve little purpose, other than to reinforce the man-made divide between humans. If anybody's making a divide, it's people like this woman. They require men to behave differently towards women, and for women to somehow expect to be treated differently. Yes, great, buy me a drink. Then graciously accept the next drink from me. Thank you for dinner. Next time it's my turn. Equal, equal, equal. Rules, rules, rules. God damn it, it's not rocket science. The mark of a true gent is not some learned dance around doors and drink bills. It's a cup of tea when you're knackered. It's noticing boring tasks and doing them unbidden. It's sharing the emotional labor. It's being charming with your friends and family. It's making an effort with your children. And it's making you feel comfortable and relaxed. That is what a gentleman is. The rest is just filler. Well, there you go. She's a lot of fun. I'm not quite sure which is worse, which one I'd want to deal with, which one if I had to deal with. The queen or the fat. Well, actually, no. If I had to choose, if I was forced at gunpoint to be stuck around with for a little bit, I would take the queen versus the feminist. But my God. And I can't imagine any dude, I don't care how hot they are, spending time with these women. Maybe the queen, maybe she's a little more feminine than the feminist, but so that's the kind of things we're going to deal with out there, guys. Just be aware of that. But at the end of the day, for those of you that, plenty of you guys have nothing to do with women, you don't have to deal with it. But for the other part of you guys that are pickup, dating, hooking up, some of you guys in relationships, half the people on this planet are men, half the people on this planet are women. So you got your choice. Always know that. So you're out with one of these women, get rid of them. Keep on moving. All right, guys, that's it for today. Be sure to comment down below. Let me know what you think about these lovely ladies. And be sure to like the video, share with your friends, and subscribe. And I will talk to you next time.